You're now listening to the sound of Nathan and Ben driving in the car. Hey, yo, we're coming home from Pennsylvania. Yeah, we got a mania for going to Monster Bash. I'm glad we didn't crash.
I didn't go to Transylvania.
Glad we didn't go to Transylvania. We would have met Dracula there. He would have really made us scared. He is a vampire, likes to drink blood. That's not something that we throw in the mud. Hey, everybody. Thought we'd start you out with a little rap.
Yeah.
And
instead we decided to do that happy thing we just did.
The sea is silent in rap. Have you ever heard somebody say that? I feel like
I have not heard that.
Well, that's something that people say, and you know what? I am happy for people to say that if they want to. I enjoy some rap, but if someone wants to make fun of rap or the idea of rap by saying that the sea is silent,
are you sad?
Am I sad?
Yeah.
Why?
Just blue, you know.
I am a little blue. I'll give you a clue about my blue.
Okay, give me a clue.
Okay, it's a color. It's close to green. It's like green minus yellow.
Green minus yellow
equals this color.
All right. I'm glad we could have this little talk.
Ben, aren't you going to guess the color?
Blue?
It's blue! Folks, we're driving home from Pennsylvania, if you didn't pick that up.
We're a little tired.
We're a little tired. We're not wired.
We're a little wired. We're being held up by caffeine.
We are being held up by caffeine, but we hope to get home. Ben has to, he doesn't have to. He gets to lead the worship tomorrow at the church, and I'm actually preaching the sermon at the church tomorrow, so it's a heck of a day for us to be driving home from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it is.
But I think it's going to be the best. Well, it is the best drive home ever. I think it might be the best church service ever tomorrow. And
likely,
yes. Anyway, you're not getting a real episode of Sound of Sanity today. You're getting this.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
Boy, howdy.
You are in luck. So, why are they getting this, though, Ben? That's the question. Why?
Well, they already all know, because they follow our Instagram, and they saw all the updates, so there's nothing to say. They know, right?
Well,
right?
There might be some sad, pathetic soul who thinks that they have better things to do with their time than Instagram. A real loser.
I pity the fool.
So I pity that fool as well.
Mr. T is on Instagram, by the way.
Is Mr. T on Instagram?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, hold on. Actually, I'm sorry. He's on Twitter.
Yeah, no, Mr. T's definitely on Twitter.
I assume he's not on Instagram, but he is on Twitter.
Well, I feel compassion for the idiot that doesn't listen to Mr. T's tweets.
Yes.
Okay.
So, we were at the Monster Bash.
The Monster Bash!
Pennsylvania. Don't you know
Graveyard Smash!
Listeners, haven't you always dreamed of going to the Monster Bash? 50s Monster Film Festival.
Right, we know if we were to open up your collective diary, listeners, if we were to combine all your diaries into one diary and then we were to open it up and turn to the first page, probably the first entry that you ever wrote with your little pink glittery pen if you were a girl, or with your blue, what kind of pens do little boys write in their diaries with?
Probably regular black pens.
Or with your black Bic pen. Because you're a moron that uses... I'm sorry for people out there that like Bic. But I don't know why you would like Bic when there's gel pens and...
Maybe because it's ubiquitous.
It is ubiquitous. All right, so we all know that you wrote in your diary. This was a long way to a sad end of this conversational journey. We all know that you wrote in your diary that you wanted to go to the Monster Bash.
Boy, did you.
But you didn't. We did. We lived the dream. We lived the American dream. We went to the Monster Bash in Pennsylvania. It is a B-movie, kind of 50s movies film festival. This particular instance of it was under the stars. It was like they did a whole drive-in thing because of COVID. Apparently, they usually do it in a hotel suite with conferences and breakouts and kiosks, and apparently it's quite the production most years. But this year it was a little sadder and smaller. Not
very well attended. Although there were a lot of cars there for the late night drive-in showings of I Married a Monster from Outer Space and War of the Worlds.
And if you didn't know, I Married the Monster from outer space, or I married a monster. I'm sorry, not the monster. I married a monster from outer space has the following dialogue. I know where to round up some men. Human men.
That's right.
That's the hero, or one of the heroic characters towards the end. Spoilers.
Yep.
That movie was actually kind of fun.
Yeah, it was.
Actually. It's about a woman who marries a monster from outer space, and the various complications that ensue. And it's got some cool ray guns, and some cool smoke, and some cool monsters, and I'm actually making it sound way too cool. It's actually pretty boring, but it does have all those cool things. They're just
I liked it.
They're spread out. Yeah, no, I liked it too. I like being bored by these kinds of things. Your mileage may vary. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yep.
And then we stayed for a little bit of War of the Worlds, and saw some Looney Tunes shorts. Anyway, Ben, what were we doing at this Monster Bash in Pennsylvania?
Well, we went to deliver footage for the gospel. Well, hold on. Delivered the footage, the original footage, the A and B reels of the movie, The Gospel Blimp. We were delivering it to the son of the original filmmaker so that he can, we hope, restore it.
Right. So, I don't know how many of our listeners do or don't know what any of those words mean.
Yeah.
But basically, if you just don't know anything, let's just assume they don't know anything, then me and Ben are both involved with planning a church in Evansville, Indiana. Ben is about to be ordained as an associate pastor of said church, which is pretty darn cool. But the thing about that is we came from a church in Bloomington, Indiana, as I'm sure many of our listeners do know, because they probably attend there. And that church, the head pastor, his name is Pastor Tim Bailey. His dad is Joe Bailey, who used to write articles and stories and things and be something of a speaker and a well-known personality in evangelical circles. And he wrote a short story called The Gospel Blimp, which is a fun satirical jab at... what is it, a satirical jab at?
It kind of captures a lot of... It jabs a lot of things at one time.
It's one of its strengths.
Yeah. So it's jabbing at all of our formalized, institutionalized efforts to do elaborate things to share the gospel at the expense of loving our neighbors and getting to know them and spending time with them. All the ways that we actually avoid real people in order to do quote-unquote ministry.
And then it gets a lot of jabs in at kind of rich corporate Christianity and parachurch ministries and all the things that were going on then, and then many of them are still going on now. So, yeah, it's a good little story. But the interesting part is that it was adapted into a movie, runs about 40 minutes. It's like a short film, I guess. Would that be considered a short film? It's not feature length. But it was adapted into a little movie by Irvin Yeworth, who also is pretty famous in mainstream circles for directing a film called The Blob, which is a classic B-movie with Steve McQueen fighting the blob as it consumes his town. And so it's just kind of this interesting career that this guy had, and it's much more complicated than that. He directed The Blob, he also directed The Gospel Blimp, but most of his life was making Christian films, actually. And The Blob was actually, although The Blob is what most people know him for, and just like in the culture, if anyone knows him, it's for that. It was basically a detour in his career of making Christian films and Christian media. So, me and Ben went to hang out with his son, who is in his 70s and a very colorful, interesting guy to talk to and a lot of fun. And his son, why were we hanging out with son? We were dropping off the film, but to what purpose, Ben?
So that it could be restored.
So it could be restored, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Chris Yeworth, son of Irvin, has spent his life in show business and in the film industry and the music industry, mostly kind of supporting roles. Mm-hmm. Like, for instance, being a studio musician in Nashville for a time, singing with the Gaither Band in the 70s.
Yeah, he did back up on, like, all of Gaither, basically, so which is fascinating.
Yeah, singing jingles for this or that commercial product. Helping do this or that thing for this or that movie. I'm not clear of the entire catalog of his involvement, but he's worked on hundreds of movies and has kept up with film technology and learned how to transfer from film to digital and all kinds of things to do with restoration, as he's been attempting to preserve his father's films and make them look good again.
Yeah, and he is a incredibly colorful character. And the reason that's important is because we recorded, like, for 3 hours or so, we recorded a podcast with him. I don't know, ultimately I'd probably edited down a little bit. You will get to meet him in audio form, probably over on the Sanity at the Movies podcast. I think that's where that one will probably land, although I could see it landing here, too. He had a lot of interesting things to say about being a creative and being a Christian, and doing witness through art, but also working really hard. I don't know. We'll let him say it, but he's a really interesting guy to talk to. We did a podcast with him. I think you'll enjoy that when it hits, which will be soonish. But we also gave him the film footage, as Ben was saying, of this film that his father shot, which had come into copyright. Is actually that's another complicated story. But basically, the Bailey family, Pastor Bailey and his family, own the film, more or less own the copyright at this point. And so Chris has been looking for this film for years, not knowing where it is, because he didn't know that it ended up in the hands of the Baileys. So he was just happy to connect with the Baileys. We gave him back the film. Hopefully he's going to get it restored, and then I don't know where it'll go from there, but at least there'll be a nice copy of his dad's film available somewhere. And me and Ben were charged with the noble task of delivering this and hanging out with Chris and enjoying a little Monster Bash and
Very true.
enjoying some fine company, namely each other. And so that's what we've been doing for the past
Maybe.
2 days. And now this is day number 3. We're driving back to the lovely town of Evansville, Illinois.
Illinois, really?
Yeah, the lovely town of Evansville, Illinois. We're going back there.
Where we've never been before.
Yeah. We're going back where
For the
we've
very first time.
never been before.
All right.
So we actually tried to listen. I'm just going to out us because I think it's kind of fun. We tried to listen because, we do the villain stuff, so we thought we should see what other people are doing. So we tried listening to one episode of a very famous narrative podcast that you may have heard of called Welcome to Night Vale.
Yeah.
And basically, it's just a guy talking like this and telling you how you will experience supernatural things, and then you will definitely die. But right now, you are alive, and so treasure that. But also, you will die, which is existentially romantic. And that's not really an exaggeration of his vocal delivery.
No, it's not.
That's exactly how he delivers it.
Yep.
And I don't know what particular point there was to that, besides we listened to that podcast and we've had fun goofing on it, and I don't think it's anywhere near the quality of the Ville. Imagine if we just reduced the Ville to one guy talking like that the whole time. Would it be better or worse? I'll ask you, Ben. What if it's
Better.
Better, yeah.
Better, just me. Only my voice.
Can you talk like that guy? You just talk like that guy.
You know what? Actually, it should be only your voice. You would make a better that guy than me.
Yes, I tend to do our narrators and our announcers and our deeper voiced kind of things on the bill, I guess. So, yes, we can just. What I think what we'll do is we'll use the same scripts, but it'll just be like that guy. Like, okay, Chip, let's do something zany now, shall we?
It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great. Okay, so don't listen to Night Vale. Do listen to our podcast with Chris Yeworth. That's going to be hitting one of the various feeds. Pretty fun guy and pretty interesting, and has a lot of interesting stories. If you know anything about 20th century pop culture or anything about the world of 20th century evangelical culture, then Chris Yeworth has crossed paths with like everybody.
Really?
So,
yeah, everyone.
I'll tell you one thing that he likes to throw out is that Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones fame got sober in his mom's basement, which is a story. It's a whole story. I'm not going to tell it. It's his story, but he told it to us. I have a picture of his mom with Keith Richards. He didn't give me the picture, but I took a picture on my phone. that's the kind of guy he is. He's just got a story about everybody.
Pretty cool.
Yep. I guess the real purpose of this is to tell you, though, that's why you're not getting a real Sound of Sanity episode today. I hope you enjoyed your UFO deep dive last week. I liked how that one turned out, so I hope you had fun with it and learned a little something and had some handles given to you by us on how to think about the alien menace. And yeah, Ben, anything else we need to tell these fine folks, our listeners?
We could just tell them that at the Monster Bash, felt like the folks who did come were the folks who really were desperate for some kind of community.
Yeah.
And that was their place to find it, is a festival about 50s B-movies. And I think COVID has left a lot of people with less community than normal, kind of stripped away certain things we all took for granted. And Pennsylvania was locked down for a longer time than Indiana, and more strictly, I believe.
Yeah.
And so it was just interesting to see people coming to find some form of community or camaraderie there.
Yeah, you had a large group of lonely people, and it was an interesting mix. Like, basically you had the old people who have a lot of 50s nostalgia, basically, people in their 60s and 70s and whatever age you would have to be, you do the math to remember the 50s and 60s and kind of B movies and diner culture and greasers, like all the stuff that Grease was parodying, and American Graffiti. You had that crowd. They were the more cheerful element, although there was that same element of desperation for them. But then you also had kind of the younger goth lifestyle, emo kind of people with piercings and tattoos and leather and t-shirts with skulls and stuff. And it was really interesting to have those crowds mix. I don't think that those two crowds would usually mix, but I guess they can bond over corny old Dracula and Frankenstein type stuff. But yeah, there was a lot of kind of sad people there, and it was a little bit sad. I mean, it just made you think, wow, what a blessing to be part of a church that actually gives you community.
Yeah.
Because people that don't have it starve. By the way, we were going through a spectacularly pretty town.
Zanesville, Ohio.
What was I saying? Yeah, people don't have community, and they are starving for it so much that they will give themselves to learning everything about Steve McQueen's Blob, and because that gives them a sense of belonging. And then going to conventions and talking to other people about it. It's even a step down from like a motorcycle club or something like that. At least you're getting some fresh air that way. I like B movies, I like monster movies and stuff like that, but it was eye-opening to see the crowd that came to this. It was also eye-opening to see how pretty Pennsylvania is, right?
Oh, it's awesome.
I don't think we went through Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is gorgeous.
Yep, very true.
There's like these steel bridges and this houses and buildings set in hills and green everywhere. I mean, we were hitting it at the right time, I guess, but man.
Yeah, it was really nice.
When I think of Pittsburgh, I imagine like grimy people in steel mills. I mean, honestly, that's my stereotype, but man, it's a really pretty city to drive through the heart of. So, good job, Pennsylvania. Good job, Pittsburgh. Or like, not the Pittsburgh.
Yeah, good one.
My wit is as sharp as it's ever been on this drive back from no sleep and...
Too many fried potatoes.
A lot of fried potatoes, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, well, speaking of fried potatoes, the potatoes that are our brains are fried.
They are. And
so we should probably let you go. But final words of wisdom, Ben? And I do mean final.
Oh boy.
Ben will die after. Ben is going to die right now.
I hope that's not true, Nathan, but if it is, let's see. Hold on. Oh, here I got one. Join a church. How is that?
That's a wonderful word of wisdom. And I encourage everyone to do it. If you haven't, do not rely on this podcast for your community. We cannot be that for you. Okay, but you can listen to us and enjoy us because, whatever. Okay. Jake's not here, so I guess you get to say it, Ben. Until next time.
Stay sane.
Patreon.com/Sound of Sanity. Goodbye.